guys, welcome back to Clockwork Noodles. I have another breakdown for you. This is the second episode of Requiem of the Rose King. Make sure you guys are subscribed, but a big thank you to you guys. We have hit 500 subscribers. We are halfway to my big goal of hitting the 1k mark. So thank you guys so much. It means a lot. This channel has been going for anime purposes now over a year. So I've been breaking down anime for a year, talking about anime and just doing the thing that I enjoy. Is just I love anime. Anime is fantastic. Thank you guys, because being able to talk to you guys, even if we are small in number, we are noodlings nonetheless. We are drawn together by our watching of the weekly animes, and this is one hell of a season. There's a lot of good animes dropping every single day. Sunday is my favourite day just because we've got Titan and Demon Slayer on the same day. But we've got some interesting anime nonetheless to talk about, and Requiem definitely gave us a very interesting episode. There's a Discord channel too if you want a notification to your phone whenever videos go up. That allows you to keep track, knowing when things go up and also knowing when I'm breaking things down. There's going to be a slight delay next week on a few episodes, but this anime in particular, episode 3, will not be delayed. Let's get to it, because this is dark, and this week we do cover some of those darker themes. This is one hell of a dark story, so if you don't know what you're in for, this is going to be a very dark story. This is just the tip of the iceberg to how dark this tale is going to be. It is Shakespeare. He's a gentleman who definitely likes his tragedies. Are back in the timeline when Daddy Richard is heading a campaign north, heading back to York to reclaim York. Richard is York. So that is House York. The Lancasters this week making their way down south. To bear in mind as well that the War of the Roses is actually a time period covering about 35 years. These wars were going on and off. Just because we killed Daddy Richard during this episode doesn't mean that they have won. There's more heirs. Confusing time of history, so we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm not burdening anyone with any details. We're just going to try and keep it simple, and I'll interject whenever I think something historical needs to be mentioned. Interestingly enough, even though Richard's mother doesn't like Richard, the actions she takes this week to stop Richard going with her husband to war actually ends up being what saves Richard. If Richard had been with Daddy Richard when Daddy Richard ended up being captured and then put to death, Richard no doubt would have been killed at the same time. Indirectly, even though her actions are to try and keep them apart, she does end up making a decision that spares Richard from meeting the same fate. And to recontinue and reconfirm why she's acting the way that she is, she's superstitious. Superstition during this period of time, the 15th century, it's rife. England was rife with superstition. We had dark ages, so we've been swings and roundabouts. There's a lot of death during this period of time. Religion also is very key, and people would believe in things like witches and lots of demons. She does refer to Richard as demon child. There is no historical records to state and back this up, but for the sake of the show, we're going to continue with it. She naturally believes that Richard would bring disaster to her husband. So she's trying to separate the two. Regardless, he dies anyway, so it doesn't really do much help. Some of the reasons why she believes this is the situation at birth. She ended up going through quite a few birth difficulties. Childbirth, a lot of women would die in childbirth during this period of time. Not enough was understood. Very dangerous giving birth, especially during these periods of time when disease is just rife. Also, consider that Richard was born with a hump, or one of his shoulders was higher than the other. He also has scoliosis. If you remember the picture I put of the skeleton, that is his, found in the car park last week. Look at the spine. Look at the curvature of the spine. Obviously, we understand scoliosis and we know what it is, the weakening of the muscles in the back and the actual spinal cord itself. However, during that time period when not enough was known about medication, the people would have seen this as a bad thing, curse from God. Just explaining some of the reasons why she is acting the way that she does. Richard is sent away to perhaps the fanciest prison in London. Tower of London is a prisoner for political prisoners. Most of the time, richer people are sent there. It's a very fancy prison. It's actually better conditions than the ones that if you were poor, you'd just be chucked into a pit and it was rife and there's rats and there's no food and death would have definitely awaited you just for hanging out in prison. Richard's prison, the Tower of London, is a very nice place to be. You're just under essentially very fancy house arrest. Richard does find it fascinating that Henry are simply in the same place right now, and simply if Richard was to roam free, he'd just lop Henry's head off. It is a destined face-off. Eventually it's going to happen. However, historically, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it is 600 years ago. It ends in death. It doesn't end well. So Richard is destined to kill Henry. Let's follow poor Daddy Richard as he ends up being surrounded. Doesn't go very well. Richard, despite being separated from child Richard, he ends up losing regardless, and we are introduced to Margaret of Anjou, who is the wife of Henry, who ends up torturing Daddy Richard, and right before the end, doing the cruel trick of making him believe that his son is dead. I have killed your son, this is the blood of your son. Believes that the one thing that he truly loves is dead, so he goes out on a very hopeless note. Henry is then recaptured, so we end up with a little bit of a slight time skip, so if you're wondering why things are moving quickly, slight time skip now. Beheading of Richard by Lancaster. Lancaster now having the upper hand, trying to go and reclaim Henry, who is obviously in prison. Henry does get recaptured, and Richard is then moved. Richard is moved by the Lancaster's son, I can't remember his name, son of Henry. Him moving Richard because he is fascinated in Richard. And I think there's a bit of a longing there because he believes that Richard is a woman. Plays in Richard's favour. There's a lot of fate lining up here to save Richard from a fate. If Richard had been moved again, sharing the same fate, because they've come to the hands of Margaret of Anjou. As we see in this portrayal, Margaret of Anjou is a very strong woman who is behind Henry, and we start to see Henry. The reasons why he wants to be a shepherd and live a quiet life. Lancaster now has the upper hand. This was going on for 30 years. This was a lot of back and forths. There's a lot of skirmishes. It's not a quick thing. It's not over in just a simple battle. This is swings and roundabouts. It was a very turbulent time. Richard ends up being abandoned. It is no surprise to Richard, but lied to that father is perhaps still alive. It's the determination to be by Dad's side, which ends up leading to this next risky move by Richard. England during this time period was very turbulent. We know we're during a war at this point, and it's also very dangerous to be travelling alone, travelling on your own. The first dark twist for Richard, kills a soldier and then struck by guilt, seeing that this soldier was a father. Now, every soldier has a story, and it's when you stop and think about those stories where your brain goes to a very dark place. We do see that immediately upon realising that this was a father, and Richard loves their father. A big impact on Richard. This is huge. It starts to play upon them, and we get that big massive guilt trip. They break down. But during the breakdown, we end up with our shepherd refinding Henry. Now, to clarify, Richard does not know what Henry looks like. They have absolutely no idea that the person they want to kill, the person they want to just sacrifice, killed Henry right here and now, it would have been over. Henry is the shepherd. Henry is nothing more than a shepherd in seeing in dreams. So at this point, I could probably even think they're tripping out after the murder of the soldier and wondering if it's his conscience. However, Henry does know Richard, and Henry definitely knows who Richard is, but he doesn't hate Richard. Whether he knows that Daddy Richard has been sacrificed or not quite sure, because at this point he hasn't met up with his wife. Reconfirmation that he wants to live a peaceful life. He doesn't really seem to have the desire to be a king. He just wants people to be happy, which we can say is a very good thing for a king to want. However, as we're going to find out later on, that it may have been a bit naive to think that everybody's going to get on peacefully. The design of Richard mirrors and contrasts Henry's. Henry is in the white. He is seen as innocent. Henry wants everybody to be happy, so it's a very positive, innocent, pure thing that he wants. Lots of white going on over there. Richard in the dark. Richard has a bit more of a drive, wants to be forceful. Obviously, Richard's upbringing hasn't helped. A very high expectation for Richard to achieve. They've had to compete with sons. The way that Richard's been brought up traumatically, thinking that they are cursed, they're unwanted, they're not loved by their mother. A lot of darkness here as well, and the fact that we've seen them now kill. Even though they have killed, note that they feel immediate pang of guilt for what they have done, and they know that they are impure. And Richard even says, "I'm not like you," emotionally hurt. That drawback when he draws away from Henry, but they see Henry as pure. They also know that they themselves are dark and tainted. Richard now sees themselves as tainted, as dark, as impure, not even worth being around him. That's when we have the breakaway. Richard breaking away at the right time, been dead if he'd been caught by Margaret. Lucky for Richard, Margaret is too busy with her husband. But it is a bad place to be if you are a follower of House of York, because House of York seemingly has been wiped out at this point. It's looking very, very bad. Richard has this desire to find their father, pushing all of the limits despite the fact that there's no sleep and they aren't looking very good. No rest, just continuing forward. Interesting scene with Margaret, showing you how strong-willed Margaret really is, and the fact that Margaret doesn't look upon Henry favourably. Now, how does history remember this woman? They definitely remember her as being a key position of the War of Roses. Valiant. History often also sees her more as a man, or oddly enough, upon the idea of identity and gender. Because of how valiant Margaret was, she is seen as more like a man. Henry was seen as insane. Seeing Henry having those breakdowns, Henry was seen as insane, and we do see this as well, that she shames him in front of his own son. This is the son that you abandoned. We know that Henry wants a peaceful life. He abdicated the throne, or he was willing to step down if it created peace. The idea that he bookered for peace and he was actually trying to bring peace to the kingdom, that is what Margaret is angry about. She feels betrayed, and I'm not quite sure who the William is that she compares. She goes, "I miss you, William." I'm not sure, because the history files only really have her marriage to Henry. Don't believe she was engaged to another person. But we do get a look at Henry and his mental state, and perhaps one of these insane moments, I say that with inverted commas, as he has a breakdown. He's definitely seen as an unhappy king. But let's go back to Richard running through the forest, which is a very bad thing to be done, and obviously Richard gets ambushed in the forest as well. It could be a metaphor. There's a lot of metaphors in this anime. Whether this forest is being used again as the metaphor being trapped in their own mind, and also being tormented, ambushed by a torrent of words like cursed child, demon child, over and over again. So whether their own psyche is picking on them, not so sure. We end with the truth. Richard finally finds their father beheaded, the head of the father, ending in that very twisted scene of them kissing their father's head. I think links to the flashback we had about the mistletoe when Richard has young Richard. He tells them about the tradition of kissing under the mistletoe. In this sense, it is just fatherly love. I know it feels a bit weird. Child is kissing the father. I think it is at this point meant to just simply be the tradition, the mistletoe. It's meant to be just father-child relationship there. This is probably a book note for the fact that it's gonna get darker. This is a dark story, a dark tale. Hopefully I'm bringing some interesting facts to the table. I know that my breakdowns for this in particular anime are a little bit messy, but I'm trying my best. Trying to see where the anime is going. Is a work of fiction. This anime is based upon the tales by Shakespeare, and even Shakespeare's tales, Richard III and Henry and Hamlet, they are still works of fiction, just based upon real figures, real people. Take this with a pinch of salt. Don't suddenly believe this is the exact historical play out for the War of the Roses. It's not. It's just very interesting to see where the anime is going to take it. So I'm having fun. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Make sure that you are having a good week and that you are treating yourself to watching some of these fantastic animes that are falling into our laps this season. I will see you guys again in another video, another breakdown. Bye bye, guys.